Hello YouTube. I would like to explain something, and it's concerning my MySpace page. My MySpace page has some very embarrassing photos of me. It's not my original MySpace content. My original MySpace content was very cutesy, and I even put some original poems up and was just cute. But when I was able to log into my MySpace account again, a few years after it wasn't a thing anymore, I was living with this guy who told me that he had Asperger's. Okay? No biggie, right? But the pictures were his idea, and I went along with it because at that point in my life, I was just very lost, and I would just go along with anything. So he had me take pictures of myself. Well, he took pictures of me in a bikini, a red bikini top, and this old helmet that we found at an army surplus store, right? I just went along with it because, I don't know, I was living with him, I liked him, whatever. The only stuff that he ever did that was kind of different was he would just make a fool of himself sometimes, and I didn't really think he had Asperger's. Anyway, moving on. Maybe I have it too, but I don't want people to judge me based on my MySpace page because it is ridiculous. It wasn't my original MySpace page. It was just made during a really weird time in my life where I was lost. Somebody else basically made it for me. I also took pictures, many pictures for him, next to old cars that he would vamp up and resell on Craigslist. I took pictures for him all the time. It wasn't weird. But that didn't work out because not only did he become a bit violent towards me, he also threw all my shit in a garbage bag and threw the garbage bag out of his house one day because I wouldn't get a job. I was sleeping all day. Moving forward. I know I have mad resting bitch face. I know I look like I want to murder people 55% of the time. But that's just my face. And I get bullied a lot. Not covertly bullied, where the bullying is just that everyone hates you and you have no friends. I was at Bed Bath & Beyond the other day purchasing something, and I had worked there a year or two ago, briefly, and I quit because I hated it. I felt like people there just my coworkers just hated me. So I stopped working there, but I liked some of them a lot. And I ran into one of the women that I liked, and she said, "Oh yeah, Hayes, I recognize you now. After you left, they had a meeting about, bullies and being nice and respectful to your coworkers. I think it was because of you." And I was like, well, that makes all the sense in the world because nothing actually happened, but I always feel like people hate me. So apparently people just hate me, and I pick up on that because I'm super sensitive, and so I quit. I leave things, right? And 90% of that has to do with my resting bitch face because people are like, well, she's a bitch, let's hate her, I guess. And 10% I think has to do with me being foreign looking. That's not a fun thing either. To be to be foreign looking in America is like so the worst. Um and I used to get asked where I was from all the time. And I sound foreign too, I guess, but sometimes. But and I have a funny name. And there are just so many reasons that people like are suspicious of me, and it really hurts my feelings. And I mean, I could go into depth about why people think I'm a bad person without even knowing my character and how it's like really messed up. But the fact is, it happens to me probably more than it happens to other people. And, probably I get judged more based on the fact that I'm like, I have resting bitch face. I do inappropriate things on the internet, which is my fault, so that really doesn't count. Um, and like I'm different looking, you know. Um, I think I get judged on that very very much, especially due to the fact that I'm a woman, because I don't think they judge men as harshly for being like foreign looking, because women are like can be so competitive with each other. We just pick each other apart, and like if we have if I know I come across as confident, even though I'm confident in the respect that like I don't have a fuck to give, but I'm actually very sensitive, and um I doubt myself a lot. So when people, think it's all right to name me as the odd one out, like that affects me greatly. And that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I don't think that I'm much different than the next woman, you know, the next like kind, friendly, like wanting the best for herself and her life woman. I don't think I'm any different than her, like honestly. Um so so I feel like my confidence, might be considered like arrogance or hubris. And I don't mean to put on airs, but sometimes I get so, this sounds, you might not be able to relate to this if you're not like quote unquote foreign, but sometimes I get so excited about being able to speak English and about living in America that I just talk, I'm just like that. But the reactions that I get are humbling to say the least, because you know they make me want to be more humble, because I um I guess confidence just isn't a trait a woman is expected to have. And it's not really confidence, it's just I know what it's like to be trapped in a language, of being afraid to speak a language because you think you have an accent or you don't know how to say something. And so when I moved back to the States, it was very liberating for me, and maybe it annoyed some people. Moving forward, my looks and the way I act are two different things. I'm a tall girl. I'm 5'11". If I've had at least one encounter where a younger woman has thought that I was hitting on them when I was not. And I feel like my size has something to do with that. Like maybe they just assume that I'm like more manly or something. But believe me, tall girls are just as feminine as petite girls, if not more so. Um, so there are just so many things that happen when people judge you upon your appearance. And it's made me quite shy and awkward, to be honest with you. Just the reactions that I've gotten to my personality. Um, you know, I used to I used to be an overthinker. I used to overthink things all the time. And this was before I dropped out of college. After I dropped out of college, I started to really hate myself. I felt like um, I felt I felt guilty. I had a huge guilt complex for being like um, more privileged than some people. A huge guilt complex. And that guilt complex exists even today. But um and I think that's another factor for me being shy and awkward because sometimes I just don't know how to act. I'm not extremely privileged. I'm not extremely wealthy, but I do feel that um I'm blessed in that like my parents are still together. Um my dad, could afford to send me to college. Like I didn't have to work during college. And I felt very privileged because of these things and so on and so forth. There have been many other instances where like it was clear that I was privileged to me. And instead of like being happy and embracing that, I just got like very ashamed of myself for not being able to um I guess meet the expectations that I thought people had set for me. Um, and a lot of that comes from and I feel like the reason I wasn't able to meet those expectations is because I I have this like foreignness about me that makes me like very self-conscious of myself, and I feel like people judge me based on that. So I get really like antisocial and shy, especially like in workplace situations, because I always feel like people are judging me for not like being normal. So I just wanted to eat this quesadilla. It's a wrapped up quesadilla, see, and and it has spinach in it. It's really good. Um, talk to you about me. Um, I don't think I'm as smart as people give me credit for. I know my mom pushed me a lot to be like this girl genius when I was younger, but I think that came from from her insecurities because I think my grandmother pushed my mom to be like more of a beauty, and so my mom wanted to push me to be like a genius. So, but I actually don't think I'm as smart as I was ever given credit for, to be honest with you. I think anybody can be, mostly anybody can be smart if they apply themselves like the way I did when I was younger. But come to find out, I'm actually way more comfortable just being kind of like, I guess dumb is the wrong word, but it's kind of lackadaisical, lackadaisical, where you're just happy, not trying to impress people with your smarts. Like that's that's not fun for me. I don't like getting into arguments or debates, um, discussions, as they like to say. I don't like doing that. Some people, okay, this is rambling. I'm rambling now, so I'm gonna go. But I just wanted to talk to you about things. Don't be like, oh, Hayes, you're not foreign, because um, have you ever been approached in a shopping mall and asked if you were Russian? You haven't? Oh, I mean, I can give you other examples as well, but that one makes my point. All right. Well, bye. Okay. It was nice talking to you. Have some of my quesadilla. It's good.